Well, this is my first Dream School call that I've had nobody show up to. So, of course, I didn't announce it or remind anybody. So, and it's only the second Saturday morning call, and it's an early morning call, but I suppose I can talk to myself for a little bit, a little bit. Um, I, yeah, it's funny because I woke up this morning really excited to be on this call and to connect with people. And I had a lot to share because last night I didn't sleep like hardly at all. It was the first time in a long time that I um I had a difficult time sleeping, and I just thought it would be a really great entry point for this call. So there's no reason why I can't talk about it still. So um so yesterday I decided that I would have a cup of tea, right? Not a big deal. Except I quit caffeine, not because it was a huge problem, but because I was having issues with my body, um, just feeling tired all the time, lethargic, and kind of weak and foggy, and all of these things. And so I decided to cut out a lot of things this year. I started with alcohol in January, and so I haven't had a drop of alcohol since it was the last week of January. I forget which day it was. I was inspired by somebody's post in one of the school groups that I'm in, and it was just enough to inspire me to say, yeah, I'll give up alcohol for the year. That was the post. We're giving up alcohol for the year, and now that it's been 5 or 6 months, I don't miss it at all, and um, I don't have any intention to go back to it for any reason. Like, what's the point? I don't need it anymore. So I cut out alcohol, and then I I've always enjoyed smoking pot. I like it, and I thought, well, maybe this is the thing that's making me tired and unclear and foggy and you know lacking strength and whatever. So I cut that out. And the problems persisted, so I decided to cut out sugar, caffeine, processed foods, and I even cut out dairy, uh, milk, butter, cheese. Oh, I've been using butter a little bit, but cheese. So all of those things, and I have to say that a lot of my symptoms have improved. The lethargy and the fatigue and the like muscle strength is still lacking a little bit. Um, and from what I understand, from what I've been researching and reading, those kinds of things they take time because they point to adrenal fatigue and a liver fatigue, and to heal those organs takes a little bit more time, and it takes a radical shift in what you're feeding your body. So, what does this have to do with dreams and dreaming? Well, I've noticed that for me, if I if I'm really paying attention, I'm really being present to those things that I'm putting into my body, alcohol, and substances in particular, those strong substances. It's a little more of a challenge to understand when it comes to food, I think, but substances are high up on the list. They're like one of the first. Substances are going to they're there to dull your senses, right? We use them to dull or heighten our senses when using them, right? Some substances are going to heighten your awareness. They're going to heighten your senses. They're going to make you feel more open, more euphoric, whatever. But the prolonged use of any of those substances is going to have the opposite effect. Um, and And the same thing goes for caffeine, for food, especially processed food, sugar, heavy foods. And since I've cut out heavy foods and processed foods, the I, I felt my energy shift, and I've done a number of fasts in the past where I've experienced that type of an energy. It's a different energy. I kind of liken it to um, like like a hydraulic energy compared to electric energy. So when I'm eating a lot and I'm uh, and I'm eating a lot of heavy foods, it feels like what's powering my body is like hydraulics. Like there's like a pressure behind my energy. And that's just the way I experience it and just a way that I can talk about it and explain it. And when I'm eating lighter, eating less, and my digestion isn't as taxed, my energy is different. It's lighter, it's more electric. It feels buzzy. It feels not it's not frenetic though, because it's got a frenetic kind of quality, but it's focused, if that makes sense. It's not it's electric in a wire, right? It's not just like electric and uncontrolled. It's not chaotic. It's a different kind of an energy, and it's a nice energy. It's just um, it's not one that most of us are used to because we're indoctrinated with this idea of 3 meals a day um, and all of that. So all of this to say that yesterday I decided to have a cup of tea in the morning, mind you. I I thought, oh, that'd be nice. I'm house sitting this house, and the homeowner has a beautiful collection of teas. So I said, oh, that sounds nice. I'll have a cup of tea. And I did, and everything went fine. I had a great day. But last night I went to bed and I could not fall asleep. Um, it probably took me over an hour or two to fall asleep, and my sleep was disturbed the whole night. My first alarm, I know this sounds crazy, my first alarm goes off at 3:15, but it's not an alarm that I use to wake up. It's an alarm that I use to just bring my consciousness up enough to help me achieve a dream state. And then I go back to sleep immediately, and my next alarm goes off at 5. So the prime time dream time is between 3:15 and 5 a.m. for me. And recently, I have been dreaming very consistently, multiple dreams every single night, clear. I can record them in the morning, I can recall them in the morning. Um, but last night, I remember dreaming, but I don't remember the content. And I just remember it being very frustrating. And that was the that was the emotion that I woke up with. It was just kind of like frustration and it was a struggle really. And um, I want to I want to talk about this because my whole life, when I was a kid, I was sort of um ridiculed, shamed, and guilted for being sensitive. And you know, I can understand why that would be why sensitivity, especially for a male, uh, would be a flaw. I can understand that. And I was a child, you know what I mean? And but so what I'm saying is that I'm reframing this characteristic of sensitivity from being one of a flaw to one of a strength, because sensitivity. is absolutely a strength in certain contexts. And in the context of dreaming, and sleep, I would say that it's paramount that you are tuned in to yourself, to your body, to your energy, to your psyche, to your thoughts and emotions. You really want to cultivate a sense of presence. And the more sensitive you are, the easier it is to cultivate that sense of presence. And so sensitive people need to be mindful about what they put into their bodies, into their minds. Um, if the goal is to have better sleep and have better dream recall and to generally just kind of understand yourself better, right? You'll be able to identify and differentiate between different feelings and emotions, and you will develop discernment over time and be able to course correct, right? It's not about right and wrong. It's about, does this way of being work for me in my life? Does this way of being work for me in regards to my ability to get a good night's sleep, or my ability to recall my dreams and understand my dreams and use my dreams as uh, a map, a guide towards a better understanding of self and towards whatever goal or achievement or dream that you have for yourself in the future. So, so last night I couldn't sleep. I had terrible dreams, and or I had a bad experience of dreams, and rather than take that as a loss or a negativity, I'm choosing to reframe that experience into something valuable and something um, that I can share. So, just some food for thought. What would change? So, what would change in your life if you were to align with your sensitivity or reframe your sensitivity? If you've had an experience like me, if your sensitivity has been shamed or ridiculed or whatever, what would shift in your life if you had a sense of acceptance around your sensitivity, uh, rather than hiding it or suppressing it or denying it, or whatever? What could come of that? What would what would shift in your life as a result? I'm not used to speaking alone to the camera, uh, without some, feedback from people. It's For me, this is extremely confronting. Um, it puts me right in the spotlight, right at the center of attention, and it's a place that I have never been very comfortable with. And I'm choosing a new frame, right? I'm choosing a new context to operate from in all ways of my life. And so when I got on the call this morning and nobody showed up, I was a little bit disappointed, a little bit hurt, because I've had such good attendance so far, with the calls. And it's um it's been it's been really encouraging to have people show up. And I'm really glad I've had people show up for all these calls over the last few months. I think I think it has given me enough validation and encouragement to be able to show up alone here and just riff kind of off the cuff. I have some notes that I wrote after I wrote my morning journal, after I wrote down my dreams. And and so, I'm not totally unprepared. I have some things I can talk about. So today I have taken on a new journal prompt, and I started reading a new book this week. It's called The Unlimited Power of Imagination. I think it's something like that. It's some notes on some lectures by this man named Neville Goddard, who was a speaker in, I think, the 50s or 60s. I'd never heard of him until very recently. I would say in the last month, and but I definitely resonate with his message. He makes a lot of biblical references, which I'm not a Catholic or Christian, but I'm not open to the ideas of Catholicism and Christianity, just as I am open to the ideas of all world religions, and even, like literally all world religions. Like I have my experience is one of taking a broader view of things and seeing that most, if not all, world religions are um, originating from a similar place. And I don't want to get into theological or theosophical discussion or go on uh, a monologue about any of that stuff at this moment. I just wanted to say that I started this new sort of journal protocol based on the things that I've been learning in this book and other books. Like, for example, I just finished another book called Tufti the Priestess, by the author's name is Vadim Zeland or Zealand. He's a Russian author. I think he's a contemporary author, semi recent at least. And the theme is conscious creation, manifestation, which I'm, uh, you know, I'm a little resistant to the word manifestation just because of the the association in the space out there at the moment. And it's just a word, right? So uh, the theme of these books is just that manifestation and conscious reality creation. And I have this practice of writing a journal every single day. And I've done this practice for a very long time now, at this point, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. It was something that I always attempted when I was younger. I'd always wanted to write, to keep track of just what's going on in my life. And like I would start and then I would miss a day and I would get incredibly discouraged uh, because I missed a day. I made a big deal out of it being perfect, and that would cause me to quit completely. And so I had many years of starts and stops and starts and stops and you get it. And it was I don't know exactly what it was. I think I just had enough experiences of those starts and stops, and then periods of doing nothing again, where I just kind of got kind of fed up with myself. And I was like, well, you can do it perfectly or you can do it imperfectly, or you can just not do it at all. And I just thought, well, doing it imperfectly is much better than not doing it all and doing it at all. And then being, you know, upset with myself for not following through on the things that I said that I was going to do. It's a matter of integrity. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I read a book called The Artist's Way. Fantastic book if you're an artist or a creative, or you feel that there is an artist or a creative inside of you that is ready to be birthed, is ready to come out. It's a it's a fantastic book. But one of the practices in the book is to do what she calls a brain dump. I think she calls it a brain dump. I might call it the brain dump. Oh, she calls it the morning pages. I call it the brain dump. And that is basically what my journal has consisted of for years. And that is an absolutely incredible practice. If you are on a path of self-knowledge, awareness, presence, intention, attention, if you're on the path of cultivating any of those things, I would 1,000% encourage you to start a journal with the brain dump. And what the brain dump is literally just a stream of consciousness writing. You just don't think. Mine has evolved to be a dictation because my brain works so fast. I can't even keep up with typing. I can't keep up with writing, and it's frustrating for me. So I I speak. I speak out loud. I speak into a tape recorder. I speak into Google Docs, into my notes app, whatever it is. And then I've got this record. And I've been doing that for so long, and I've learned so much about myself and my inner workings and my feelings and emotions and my, just so much, so many things. And like I said, it's been years, so it's become sort of repetitive. And I find myself kind of in a repetitive cycle at this point. So after reading these books recently, and now that I have Dream Skool, and part of my vision for Dream Skool is is this conscious dream, this created dream in waking life as well as in your sleep. I started reading different materials, and I I extract practices from the material that I read. Uh, sometimes sometimes these books are really great because they offer you these concepts and these ideas, but they don't necessarily offer a practical guide. And so I like to take these books and create practical guides out of them. I think you can do that with pretty much any book. You can create a practical guide from any book about anything, really. Maybe not anything, but anyway, that's the thing that I've gotten into, and I created this sort of journal prompt around, reframing my reality, my past, and creating myself and my way of being in the present moment, and creating a moment in the future from which I'm living. This moment in the future is a complete fabrication. It's a dream, but it's one that I've created. And so I have this whole, it's not long. I like to do 30 minutes. You can do it for however long or short you want if you're into it. But it's like five journal prompts and a few questions, you know, that go along with it to kind of ground you in a created reality. And the important thing to know about these practices is that your spoken word is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Your words are so incredibly powerful. I like to say that we're all master manifestors, but very few of us are masters of intention. And that's the problem. We're not, it's not the problem, it's just the process. It's a natural process. We're all always manifesting. We're all always manifesting our lives. The thing is, though, that we're not all masters at attention or intention. And so what happens is our experience of yesterday becomes today. And then our experience of today becomes our tomorrow. And we've forgotten how to imagine something different. And so your imagination is so, so incredibly vitally important to you living the life that you desire. And I can go so deep into this, but I'll save that for another time. So the way of being, the person that I'm choosing to be today is present because my presence allows me to show up in all of the ways that I say that I desire to show up. I want to show up confident, positive, encouraging. I want to show up with love. I want to show up in service, right? And in order to do those things, for me, the one grounding characteristic, way of being is presence. And we can choose whatever way of being we want to choose. Any way of being you want to choose to be, you can absolutely choose it in any moment, regardless of the circumstances. And of course, there are extremes, and this is still true. We're all inundated today with distraction and overstimulation. Everybody is wanting our attention. And for me, cultivating presence, awareness, consciousness, being here now-ness is absolutely essential as a practice, as a daily practical practice for creating my life from a place of from a place of authentic, intentional, conscious creation. And I will work on a guide, a text a presentation of some sort to take you fully through those processes. I can certainly share journal prompts, things like that that I've created to help you in that endeavor. So one other thing that another thing that's happening at the moment is my relationship is ending, um, and it's very difficult. It makes me feel extremely sad, like overwhelmed with sadness at times. And I recognize through my presence my desire to be comforted in those moments. And of course, my instinct, my habit is to reach out to my relationship, right? And when I find or when I feel her sadness and I feel her pain, my instinct is to reach out to her and to take care and to be the one to to try and sort of save the day, to be the one to sacrifice. That's what it ends up being, is a sacrifice, because I know that things aren't working. And there's a part of me that just on autopilot wants to save the day and wants to make everything okay for someone else, and even at my own detriment. And that's something that I am letting go of. And it might seem, it can definitely seem cruel because I made a promise to her. She made a promise to me. And sometimes, sometimes it's just not enough. And we have to look at the reality of things. If you can't show up as yourself fully in a relationship, that relationship doesn't work. There's no integrity in it. And that's just the bottom line. You have to love yourself first. That's all I'm going to say about that. I had an experience yesterday where someone felt that I owed them money. And it wasn't much money. It was just kind of the principle. And I noticed myself a little bit hurt in that moment. They said to me, "Oh, I would like to keep this money for such and such reason or whatever." And just in that moment, I didn't agree. Excuse me, there's an alarm. I just didn't agree. And I felt myself just acquiescing and just going along with it right immediately. I was like, "Oh, okay." I like sort of kind of cowered, bowed down, just was like accepted of accepted it on their terms immediately. And you know, I didn't allow myself the space to kind of like take in what they were saying and process it in the moment, and then respectfully and with presence, uh, you know, communicate how I actually felt. I just said, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. Mostly just to avoid any conflict. And part of this new journal practice is learning to reframe things that have happened in the past already so that they don't continue to show up in your life. So what happened happened. The fact the facts of it are that this person thought I owed them money. They asked for the money. I I agreed with my words while my thoughts weren't in alignment with what I said. And otherwise everything was fine. Like our relationship was fine. It's even pleasant, right? But then later on, when reflecting about it, I realized that there was an incongruence to in what I said and how I acted. And so this new practice of creating my reality includes creating past events. And so with this particular event, I felt slighted a little bit. I felt a little hurt and kind of, just kind of like perplexed, like, you know. But then the practice is to kind of reframe the the event. And this is a very small event. It's very easy to reframe. Something that happened a long time ago when you were a child or whatever, those kinds of things might be a little more difficult to reframe, or they might not. Uh, that's also up to you in the words that you use. If you say something is going to be difficult to recreate, it's going to be difficult to recreate. And that gets a little meta, I know. But anyway, back to the story at hand. In choosing to reframe this small thing that happened yesterday, this small event that happened yesterday, I am building the muscle of reframing the past, the past which creates my present, which creates my tomorrow. So rather than see this particular event as being a slight towards me or something that I need to be resentful of or angry of in any way, I can choose I can choose to I can choose to align with the words that I said. Absolutely. Not a problem. You want that money? You think that that's owed to you? Okay. And I can reframe my experience of that moment with with generosity and understanding. And I can put myself in the shoes of the other and see that from their perspective, they're absolutely right. From your perspective about anything, you are absolutely right. That's a very difficult truth to understand. And it's true. So I can choose to to see her perspective, their perspective from from their perspective, right? And rather than, like I said, be resentful, be angry, have some grudge possibly festering in there for God knows how long or whatever it is, even if it just puts a little wedge in between us and like separates us and kind of like makes the relationship a little awkward. Rather than allowing that feeling to manifest that result in the future, instead, I choose to give her that money freely, generously with gratitude, right? And I can reimagine that thing happening. And really, the only thing that's different in the reimagining of that event is the emotions that I showed up with. In that moment, I felt resentful, slighted, angry, misunderstood, taken advantage of. But I can choose to remember it in a different way. And that just takes a very slight shift. Not a big deal. I can choose to remember that I gratefully and selflessly and like lovingly gave her this money, this energy, and everything continued on. The world is no longer affected by this hiccup, by this glitch. I'd never really thought of it that way before. Yesterday, actually, I read this chapter in the unlimited power of the imagination, and I've considered that you know your past and your future are really no different than a dream. Right? The only thing that's actually, I don't want to say real or happening, is right now, because there is no past, there is no future, there's no memory, and there's no imagination. There's only right now. And so right now, if you can choose to remember your past, any particular event or your entire past in general, with love, with gratitude, with appreciation and acceptance, with understanding, with humility, your past experience will color your present, and your future will be colored by this new present that you're living from. And so that brings me to reality creation, the dream, creating the dream out in the future. It's the same thing. It's the same practice. And it starts with a very clear vision. Well, it can start with a foggy vision. It can start with a blurry vision. It can start with a very, you know, rudimentary vision. However, if you can hold that vision in your mind, refine it, recreate it, fine tune it, and then accept it as reality, as truth. Now, that's the whole trick. That's the whole process of it, regardless of your circumstances, past, present, or future. Regardless of your circumstances, you choose to show up as that you who is living that desired outcome already. That's the whole equation. I saw I saw Billy Carson on I think it was Lewis Howes. I listened to a podcast of his recently, and he had this T-shirt on that said CT plus A equals manifestation. Conscious thought plus action equals manifestation, and it's like the most oversimplified um, explanation, equation for creating reality. And it works. Like it absolutely works. Like there's no trick about it. The thing about that equation that I would change is that I would say that it doesn't even need to be a conscious thought. That's the thing that we all are missing when it comes to creating reality, is that we create our reality with our thoughts. We're just not aware of our thoughts. This is where we started this conversation today. We're not aware of our thoughts. And this is the whole reason, this entire talk that I've been talking this whole time. This is the reason why I say, pay attention. Ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? Are you dreaming right now? Because it will start your mind, it will start your curiosity. It will have you questioning, are you dreaming right now? Am I dreaming right now? Maybe I am still asleep, right? And one of these times, you'll ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? And you will be. And you'll wake up in a dream. And you might say, "Oh, wow, great. That's yeah, great." But the but the thing is that you're not just waking up in your dream. You're waking up in your real life. You're becoming present. You're becoming conscious of the here and now, which is the only time. It's the only time. There is no present. I mean, there is no future and there is no past. There's only now. And you can choose how you show up now. And that is so important. It's so important to choose how you show up now because it is how you'll be showing up in the future. This morning, I visualized my desired life in rich detail. I visualized a beautiful place, having freedom to move through the world at my leisure, at my command. I visualized having meaningful work, fulfilling work, and intentional relationships. So I invite you to reflect on if your future desired outcome, if your future created life were already present, if you were already living that life, who would you be being? What emotions would you be embodying? And I don't just mean you'd be happy or you'd be excited. I mean, what emotions would you be occupying in those moments when even nobody's around to see it? Who are you being? That's so important. For me, I want to walk, talk, and breathe like a man who built his life intentionally from his own conscious mind, not from any inherited pattern. That is my vision for my future life, my created life. And it starts with my presence. And so this was a really great way to put that way of being into practice and speak presently to myself, which is probably the scariest thing I can possibly think to do. And then put this out on the internet for billions to see, possibly. Probably not, probably eight or nine people. But regardless, it doesn't matter. I'm just talking to myself. I'm in a kitchen, in a house, in a state, in a country, on the planet, which from far enough away looks like a speck of dust floating in a vacuum. Big deal. Anyway, this was a great talk. I'm glad y'all didn't show up. Just kidding. I hope to see you in the group this week and on Thursday nights, 7:30 Eastern, and then Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Uh, Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come check out my community on Skool, Dream Skool. That's Skool. And yeah, it's your creation. It's all your creation. You are a creator, if not the creator. You're finding this content because that message resonates with you. So create with intention, cultivate your attention, and leave things a little bit better than you found them.